It doesn't surprise me that much that the Christian nationalists are completely full on taking over the United States. But I when people ask me about the U.S., whether here in France or anywhere I go, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to explain a place like this, the Holy Land experience, which is basically a Jesus-themed amusement park in Orlando, Florida. There's one in Missouri too. Y'all, I love the United States so much, and I also hate it. I hate the government. I hate how we're indoctrinated. I hate so many things about the way we are raised there, and the things that are like put in here. But we are like one of the most the most bonkers country I've ever been to. And when I've been going back through a lot of my photos, I traveled around the U.S. for like probably 2 decades. And I lived in my truck for a lot of that. And I visited weird places that I was like, what is this? I basically wanted to be a travel writer. And then I became one. I actually got paid for it much, much later. I ended up writing an article for the Daily Beast about going to this place. It's probably one of the funniest things I've ever written. But when I try to explain the United States, it's really hard because it depends on where you grew up, what color your skin is, your gender, your sexual orientation, if you're able-bodied or not, poverty or, rich or whatever, all these factors. But at the end of the day, it's the most intense place I have ever lived in, and we're hilarious in how crazy and weird we are. Before I go into some of this, I feel like, so Daniela Metznick, who wrote Uncultured, and White Women Whisper have a podcast called Hey White Women, and they talk about like cults and like how like the more I understand like cults, and the more I understand like the people who colonized, like the original colonized, like the Puritans and all that crap, and also this is almost like this moment was like. It doesn't surprise, but let me just like when I took my French husband to meet my family in 2021, and he could not believe the stuff he saw in just a month. Because what we sell to the world, whoever did the marketing campaign for the United States was pretty brilliant. Because what the rest of the world sees and what you see there, whatever. When I tell you that this all makes sense, the rise of Donald Trump, it completely makes sense. Like, let me just from this one place that I went to, and let me know, I'm thinking about doing a series of, crazy United States, because I could do like a video for all of these places, but this is the Jesus themed amusement park, and they had like all these different areas, and I need like 20 minutes to show you all the photos. It's bonkers. But this is one, this painting is called Jesus in Your Corner. So this cardboard cutout of Jesus is pointing to the painting of Jesus, who is a boxer, who's really buff, and is and then they have like the ark. This is inside Noah's ark, and they have, this is for children, and so they have like, another Jesus. They have another Jesus, but he's missing his hands. They have this Jesus, this is me playing peekaboo. It's right in front of this. He is risen in the shrubs. They literally crucify this man in front of all these people, including children. And he's also super hot, even though he's wearing a little old-timey diaper. They also had a God Bless America show, which I did not understand propaganda at its best until I saw this. Literally, Jesus was playing like a candy striper, I don't know, town mayor or something, dancing bears, all kinds of stuff, and war vets that said, I lost my leg in Vietnam because it was God's will. And then we all had to applaud the vets in the room, like God Bless America at the Jesus-themed amusement park. So I'm like, when I've started to see a long time ago how much the United States and in turn is all about like military, whiteness, and patriarchy, and also like this I'm not against religion, I'm not against Christianity, but this Christian nationalism stuff it's deep, and it's all over the US and has been for a long time. Like this dude, I just remember being like, that's a weird message. This dude literally was the star of this show, and then he came back later missing half of his leg, but it was okay because God wanted that for him. So this idea that certain people like God is super violent and like anything bad that happens to you, you deserve, and that like white men are at the tippy top, and daddy is a dick, right? I also did Jesus karaoke, although I did an R. Kelly song before I knew whatever. This was a tough crowd, but I committed to this. You know, like this idea, like this fear, like this terrifying daddy thing, like to me it all makes sense why they're like, yeah, da. And all over the US you see crap like this. Was in Key West of all places. Then there's another guy just carrying crosses, taking photos of people who are like, look, another man who loves Jesus so much he carries a cross around. There are so many truck stops and gas stations around the US where it's all about God. And this whole like binary of like, you're good or bad, you are this guy who gets they literally, the special effects of this place is amazing. And then there's the devil. Y'all, let me know if you want this video, because I've written about it, but the pictures, they also, so this is in Tennessee. Visited this place. That's me right there in a swing. You understand how big this is? This is the world's largest tree house. But it's not just a tree house. It's actually a church. That's right. It was a tree house, and this probably made by because it was for children, basically, a tree house, but it was a church. Like, this is the inside of the tree house. Just one of the floor. This was like the church part. By the way, I share so much travel content on my Patreon. If you're not following it, please follow me over there. I do lives over there. I do personal stories. I talk about my travels over here and before. But I have so much travel content. But I'm kind of feel like doing some like call back to my stuff that I did a long time ago on like my old blog that doesn't exist anymore. Because the United States is, I hate it and I love it. It is so freaking weird, y'all. And so funny. I took this like 20 years ago. This Kentucky Fried Chicken had burned down in 29 Palms, California. Extra crispy. Like, we're so funny. We're so funny. One of my favorite things to do was take photos of mailboxes all over the US. Like, and this is, I have probably like 50 photos of mailboxes. And it kind of all depends on where you are. I mean, this is obviously Florida. Crazy, Gators fan. But like, this is the full-blown Tin Man. And this is like in Pennsylvania, I think, I forget. But if there's one thing that you get all over the US, but especially in the South where I grew up in Nashville. This is all over the US, unless you're like in like a city, big city. You see like, even like the quality is like, trust in God. I probably have 500 photos of crap like this all over the US. There are even like, this is a Jesus truck stop. I think this is Texas. The Lord is God and has mercy, endureth black. Like, if there's one thing you're going to get in the U.S. is these giant travel plazas or travel centers, but one is literally just about Jesus. I mean, even the counter where you get your soft drinks, you know what I mean? Like, I could do a whole video of just Jesus stuff all over the U.S., right? But I could also do a whole video about crazy military stuff all over the U.S. This is kind of near Yuma, Arizona, where I used to work on the Colorado River. And boy, are there tanks and tanks and tanks and tanks and tanks and donkeys. And like water being wasted growing rice and stuff. There's also an obsession with prisons. This is a prison museum. I think this is Colorado. I could do a whole video on this. And this was a choice. The dummy they used was a choice. They also, this, brand new dead things. There's skeletons everywhere. There's like this is the laundromat. I think this is in Wyoming. I forget. like all over. Like, you see, like, in addition to just like extreme thinking and extreme whatever, and extreme like positivity and consumerism and individualism and all these things, you also have like really creative people all over. Whether it is a Hulk car in Taos, New Mexico, Foamhenge, a replica of Stonehenge, but it's all made out of foam, or Cadillacs buried, or Winnebago Airstream trailers, the same thing, or a museum about Cabbage Patch Kids. I could do a whole video of this. I saw one being born. Renaissance fairs all over. People making money in the most bizarre way. Like this man who trained his lazy dog strip show. Like, like if there's one thing, the U.S. is full of hustlers who figure out a lot of ways to make money. I still can't believe this dog does this. Here's a sneak preview of the Cabbage Patch being born from a tree vagina. Let me know if you want this video. We also have this obsession with like the world's largest fill in the blank. This is the world's largest world's largest medical bag statue. World's largest frying pan. I think this guy was dressed up like a piece of bacon the day I went. I mean, we kind of have phallic kind of stuff all over. This like I'm just showing you examples of like the mindset. I never know how to explain the United States to people because I'm like, I don't know, like especially like white U.S. American culture is like competition, big, like and weird and like we're the best, you know, all this crap. And then at the same time, I didn't notice it as much until I left the U.S. But this like, we can do it, we believe it. This is a bank, like, you know, like you know the enthusiasm, which like foreigners or, you know, people outside the U.S. are like, y'all are so annoying with your like toxic positivity or whatever. And again, some of this is like just very white U.S. American stuff. So I'm just sharing with you like some of the places that I went and just and the things that I've observed from about myself, especially once I left. It's like, oh my God, that's the little like U.S. American in me. Like, what is this? You know what I mean? And some of it I really hate. I'm trying to unlearn. And then some of it I'm like, you know what? I appreciate that about my country. You know? And the moment we're in right now is so interesting because with our dying breath of like empire, we just want to believe this fairy tale. And a lot, I follow, some of my mutuals are public historians. Like I follow the most interesting people. But like one of the things that's being attacked right now and has been for a long time is our history, the true history. Like the true history of the United States is just like not taught in schools, and hasn't really. It's just not. And like and now that doubling down, DEI and all like critical race theory. It's always very like dog whistles for anti-blackness, and just white supremacy culture in general. But this idea of like I'm still trying to figure out who the hell we are, and becoming a history major really radicalized me in trying to understand myself, my region I grew up in, my family, the rest of the world, and through the lens that I was given. And so I forgot until I saw these photos. I was like, man, I've been like kind of trying to figure out who the hell I am for a long time in terms of this country that I was born into. And then of course, each region is very different too. A lot of things are very similar across the board in terms of like what we're taught, and then each community within each region, and then whether you're religious or not, you know, like your ethnicity, race, and all of these other things, gender, sexual orientation, all that stuff. But then there's some that are just like forced onto everybody, and some people take it in, and some people are like, no. And so there's like no way to define the U.S. So God. But one thing that you see across the board is this obsession with Jesus that is forced down people's throats everywhere. Like this is a children's playground, and it's Noah's Ark. Everywhere you go, this is in Taos, New Mexico, at a coffee shop. Everywhere you go in the U.S., you see like this kind of culty or just like something like extreme. You know what I mean? Like I met these dudes. I took photos with these guys. There's an old man and his son who seemed a lot more like his grandson to me. But I have met some of the most fascinating people just by talking to random people all over the U.S. And it's like everyone that I met just wandering around has like either belongs, or has a sense of community, or is like obsessed with something and tries to build community around and obsessed. I met this woman on the side of the road in Florida, and she had these Raggedy Ann dolls on her vehicle, and she was just hanging out. This woman has like has them buried in her backyard. I gotta look this up, y'all. This woman was fascinating. She like had a giant like, we're so weird. And I'm not saying people in other countries aren't weird. I'm just saying that one of the things that I've realized is this lack of identity that a lot of people have particularly, I'll speak for my group of white people. We don't like, a lot of us don't know our history because our parents and grandparents are either like don't want to talk about it, don't want us to know it for, I'll let you guess why, or they don't know it themselves, and like this, and so we're like lost, and we try to find ourselves, and a lot of people flock to the church, and like, and especially white Christian nationalism and Trump and the leader and this belonging. Other people kind of get like obsessed with a thing. This is the spam museum. Collecting all kinds of stuff. I met this old man. He had this weird tower in Kansas, and he collected like, oh God, like weird. This was a funeral home that in the basement they had all of these stuffed dead rats driving Barbie cars and stuff. Like I don't know how to explain it, and not in one video, but I am fascinated with the United States. I learned a lot about it when living in the city, in New York City and LA. I learned a lot about it from, growing up in Nashville, Tennessee, from living in Montana and New Mexico and where else? Like all over the Southwest. We're also very different, and yet also very kind of eccentric and weird in our own little way, because the United States is so freaking intense, and it's so intense, and yet the creative outlets are also intense. Like, just so much creativity. Like, this is Pride in New York City maybe 10, 12 years ago. Look, dresses made out of flip-flop. Of course, it's from Old Navy, but whatever. Just like anywhere you go in the US, there's so much beauty and creativity and bold risk taking in all kinds of ways. Like here in France, we call it the French no. Like when you try to do something, you're like no, and then you have to be like okay, and then maybe they'll do it. But like I don't know. But of course, that's a huge generalization too. This is Occupy Wall Street, by the way. Like the thing is like I don't know how to explain the United States to anybody. I don't really know how to explain any country to anybody, because just like people, country is full of contradictions. Things that this, and how can it be both at the same time? I don't know, but it is. All I know is that I needed to remind myself that there are so many things, as frustrated as I am right now, with these rich white dudes and the tech bros, but it's the billionaires who are doing all this. And then they have teamed up with the white nationalists, Christian nationalists, to like try to destroy, well, take over the world, but especially, make the United States the way they want it. And I don't know. I'm so glad I found these photos. Went back. I have so many. Let me know if you want a whole series on this, but there's so many things that I love about the US, from going and exploring for so many years, going to just talking to the most random people ever. And when I as much as I get frustrated with the US, and I sometimes am super embarrassed to be from the US, at the same time, if I hate the US, then it means I hate myself. And I don't hate myself. I am who I am because of where I grew up. And even though I don't like the things I was indoctrinated into, I don't like the ways I was taught to think, and how I'm having to unlearn all that. But everywhere you go, you're going to learn some messed up stuff growing up. I don't know. I don't know what to do in this moment, but I do know that I want to rehumanize the U.S. in my mind, because right now all I see is this awful man and his awful minions, and how and I keep thinking of all of the hatred and the violence and all the stuff happening there, and that's just part of it. Please don't let them convince you that the United States is that everyone is on the white Christian nationalist train and everybody wants that. And even though there is so much like indoctrination into all this stuff, and it's all over the US, at the same time, part of that is just this refusal to look at our past and deal with these hard truths. And like Tad and some of the historians I follow talk about the Patriot myth, and all this started a long time ago. And the more we deal with our past, the more we reckon with all these things we've been taught, and unlearn them, And the sooner we're getting out of this hellhole. But don't let them convince you that it's all bad or all good, that we're better than anyone else or we're worse than anybody else, that we're not worth fighting for, or that we should dominate the world, any of that stuff. Just like any human being, we are a complicated, fascinating, weird group of people with a history we're trying to reckon with, I hope, but we are worth fighting for and not letting a few billionaire religious freaks destroy us. Let me know if you want a series on what's happening in the United States now versus and trying to tie that into places that I've seen. Or if you just want, some like weird places I've been that like kind of help me understand myself. My travel content is not part of my thing, but sometimes I will use it to explain certain things. But please join my Patreon if you're not already, because that's where I share so much of my travel stuff and my more personal stories behind the travel stuff instead of just photos. It's more personal versus more like cultural, analytical, or whatever. And my lives over there, I have one that's on February 2nd that I'm really looking forward to. I'm going to do watch parties soon, but I haven't figured out the tech behind that. Sorry. And all kinds of other stuff, but Patreon is how I'm affording to pay my bills right now, because TikTok doesn't pay me anymore other than like maybe 25 cents a day, if that. And YouTube, my views are way down, and I'm very worried. So anyway, more soon. And let me know if you heard the comment song. America is weird. Comment song. I totally forgot about this lady until today. And this man also. America is so weird. Yeah, I slept in parking lots all over. Walmart let you do that for free. America. Fork, yeah, but also kind of sucks. It's both at the same time. Such a weird place that I spent 40 years or more or less. Such a beautiful place, but such a fucking weird place. I even went to a Jerry Springer show with my friend Daisy for my birthday. America, that's us pretending to fight. It's such a weird place. Such a weird place. This is the upside down White House. Yeah, like so much weird stuff, y'all. I don't know this man. I was like, you want to take a funny photo? He was like, sure. I have so many stories like this. This is from a Bible game show that I got paid to go be an audience member of when I was in New York. Anyway, I have so many stories, y'all. I can't even tell you. It's overwhelming. Let me know what you want to hear next, because lack of content is not my problem. Did you hear the weird U.S. American song? Et voila.